Hi, and welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy, and I'm coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, November 21st, 2025. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoy this episode. This is a channel all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting and crocheting to share with you all. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. I have a few finished objects to share with you all today, the first of which is just a modification to the sweater I'm wearing. Last time I recorded an episode, I shared with you that I had finished my Stripe Hype sweater by Veronika Lindberg, and I had mentioned that I thought the sleeves were a bit too short for my liking. And I just realized that while I was recording, because I hadn't had an opportunity to wear this sweater yet until I was recording last time. And I just knew that it was going to bother me to have my sleeves as short as they were. When I was standing with my arms at my sides, I didn't notice that they were short. But as I was sitting and recording the video and moving my arms around and bending them, the sleeves were riding up a little bit too much for my liking. So I decided to modify them a bit. And I had knit my sleeves, I think I had done like 20 rounds of the 1x1 half twisted rib in the main color, and then I did 2 rounds in the blue color, like I did up here at the top of the collar, and bound off with that blue contrast color. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but what I did is I ripped out that blue stripe that I had on my sleeves, and I picked back up with the main color, and I just added 3 rows of the main color, and then I added 3 rows of the 3 different colors that are in the main body of the sweater, the pink, the gray, and the blue. I added 3 stripes of those in. So I added 3 rounds of the main color, then 3 rounds of the pink, 3 rounds of main, 3 rounds of gray, 3 rounds of the main color, and then I did that, I ended with the blue like I did originally. So anyway, I'm really happy with the length of that. So that ended up adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3, 18 rounds. No, because the original blue color was taken out. So about 15 rounds, I think, is what I ended up adding to my sleeve cuffs. Anyway, I'm a lot happier with the length of that. I was able to do that all in one day on November 12th, and I'm really happy that I did that. The yarn that I used for this sweater, the main color and those 3 contrast colors that I added into the stripes here on the cuff. They're all Goosey fibers, Goosey Squish, which is DK weight yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and the colorways are called I can't remember. Cotton-headed Ninny-Muggins for the main color. The pink is Figgy Pudding. The gray color is called Son of a Nutcracker, and the blue is called Polar Express. I did add a couple of other colorways on my sleeve stripes, but I went over that on my last episode. So if you've watched for a while, you've heard all about it, I'm sure, enough so I don't need to go over all of the details on that. But anyway, for the ribbing, I did use a US 2.5 3mm set of needles. So anyway, I'm really glad that I made that modification to this sweater. I think I'll be a lot happier with the length of the sleeves now, and I think I'll get a lot more wear out of it. Okay, I also have finished a few other things. The first is a baby blanket that I showed on my last episode that I was working on. And it's just a corner to corner blanket. And I was making this using some gifted yarn that my cousin Allie gifted to me. It is Knit Picks Brava Sport Weight. And I used the Sky colorway, which is the blue. The Alfalfa is the green color. And then just white is the name of the white color. So I started off this blanket on October 31st, and I finished it on November 11th. And I used a 3.5mm hook. And again, it's just a simple corner to corner blanket. So the common there's a, it's a pretty common stitch that you see oftentimes, crocheting a corner to corner blanket. I did not use a tutorial this time because I remembered kind of how to make it. I do have a book with a pamphlet from Leisure Arts that has a reference to a corner to corner pattern. So I did look at that when I first started just to remind myself how to make it. But this pattern is very simple. The stitch pattern is very easily memorizable. But I will link to a tutorial that shows you a simple way to do a corner to corner blanket if you're not familiar with that technique. So you can also do the same thing. So I don't remember which corner I started at because it's symmetrical. But anyway, I started at one of these corners and I had more of the blue and green yarn than I did the white. So I did 4 rows of blue, 1 row of white, 4 rows of green, 1 row of white, and I just repeated that pattern throughout. I crocheted until I had 45 squares across, because when you're doing the corner to corner blanket, you're just making these little granny clusters basically. So each one of those I counted across, and I had 45 going across. And then I continued to lengthen the blanket, but did not continue to increase it. So it just got longer. And so it's a rectangle shape. And I crocheted until I had 60 squares tall before I started, squaring off the other corner. So the blanket measured 25 by 35 inches before I added the border. Then for the border, I tried a few different things, but I ended up going back to the same border that I added to a previous corner to corner blanket, and it just is simple and it worked out well. So I just did a single crochet stitch all along the outside for the first round of my border. I crocheted 3 single crochets into each double crochet stitch. Like, it's kind of hard to explain. Okay, when you're going along the edge, you have some clusters that are standing upright, like this one, and then some clusters that are sideways, and there's an extra chain 3 stitch on the edge. So I used the white yarn for that first border round, and I just did a single crochet into each stitch if the square was oriented this way. And then if it was oriented, it's the square was facing horizontally, then I just did 3 single crochet stitches into that, like over that bar. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I did that all the way around, and then in the corners, I added an extra 3 single crochet stitches on the corners. And then for the second round, I used the blue color, the sky color, and I just did double crochet stitches all the way around. And then again, I did 3 double crochet stitches into each corner stitch. So very, very simple, and I just think that finished it off really well. So it's a nice, not an overly big baby blanket, but it's a nice sized one, I think, especially for like covering up a crib or things like that. And I really like the sport weight. Usually I make baby blankets using worsted weight yarn, but I just had this sport weight yarn, and it's kind of a nice, it's not as thick as the worsted weight, of course, but it's a nice, I like it. So anyway, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I think it's very cute. And I have mentioned before that I just love making baby blankets and giving them to new moms. And there have been quite a few new moms at our church lately that have had baby boys, and I needed some more baby boy blankets. So that is what this will be going to. Very happy with that one. And then the only other finished objects that I have are these hats. So I mentioned last time that I am helping out with our church's Christmas program, the music, and helping the kids learn the songs for the Christmas program. And I had the idea I have been making the classic ribbed hat, a design by Canton for Purl, Soho. It's free on their website. I've been making this pattern for a while now, and I have just over the last year, I've been making them a lot and then just keeping them on hand to gift or donate or things like that. And so I have quite a bit in my stash already, and I thought that it would be fun to gift each one of the kids that are in the Christmas program a classic ribbed hat for a gift. When, you know, we do the program, I thought it'd be fun to give them each a Christmas gift with a handmade hat in it. But I didn't have quite enough. I think I said last time I had 12 maybe, or 13. I can't remember now offhand. But anyway, there were, I think last time I recorded, I thought there were going to be a total of 16 kids in the program, but a few more have joined, which is great. The more the merrier. But now my last count was a total of 23 kids in the program. So I have my work cut out for me. But since I recorded last, I've been able to finish 5, and I have another one on the go. I think I can do it. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said before, I'm not going to try to stress about it, but I am focusing on this, and I'm really hopeful because I just think it would be really fun to gift each of the kids a hat. So anyway, all of the other classic ribbed hats that I have made in the past, I have made the adult small size. The children that are in the program range from age 3 to 11, I believe. And so there's a variety, you know, a wide range there of ages. And I think that the older kids will be great. Well, the adult small size will be great for those older kids. I think it'll be, you know, this pattern works really well because it's ribbed, and so it's so stretchy. It really forms to a lot of different head sizes. Even if it's not a perfect fit, the ribbing just helps it to be a good fit, I think. So anyway, I think the 12 or 13 that I have already made can go to the older kids. And then these hats that I've been making now, I've been knitting the kid size that's available in this pattern. I was working on this particular one last time I recorded, and I, again, made the kid size. I used US 3.25 millimeter needles. I started this one on November 7th and finished it on November 10th. I knit it longer to 8.5 inches before I did the decreases to give it a little bit of extra length, which is what I like to do when I make these hats in general. And for this one, I just had a bunch of fingering weight scraps that I held together and just randomly, you know, I just used up what I had. I tried to put colors together that I thought looked nice, and this one is a really fun combination of colors. I think it turned out really well. This one weighs 77 grams. And I did that same thing for a few where I held scraps of fingering weight yarn together. Here's the next one I made. I started this on November 10th and finished it on November 12th. So this one I made really quickly. It weighs 72 grams. So there is a little bit of variation between the different hats of how much they weigh. But if you hold fingering weight double, it, you know, you can kind of see they're close in weight. Anyway, I'll unfold this so you can see it all, but I don't think the hats will be worn much like that. That middle section kind of gets covered up when you roll up the brim. But I think that's a sweet one as well. And then the next one I made is here, and that one turned out cute too. This one I started on November 12th and finished it on November 16th. It's a cute one, isn't it? And this one weighs 80 grams. For this hat, I used some yarn that was gifted to me by a viewer of this channel. It did not have a label on it, so I'm not sure of the yarn specifics for this one, but it is just a very pretty turquoise color, and I just held it together, you know, held it double. It was a fingering weight, I believe. It knit up to the same gauge as the fingering weight anyway. I started this one on November 15th and finished it on November 19th. And then the last one that I have finished since last time is very fun and colorful. This one, again, was gifted from that same viewer. And again, it did not have a label on it. This one did feel a lot thicker than fingering weight. I would guess it's more of a sport weight yarn. So what I did for this one is I just cast on the number of stitches that is recommended for the baby size of the classic ribbed hat. And then I just knit it to the same length. Well, actually I went to 9 inches for this one before I started doing the decreases, because since there's less stitches on the needles, then there's not as many decreases needed to, you know, do the crown shaping. Anyway, it turned out to be the same size as these kid-sized hats, so it's great, but it does weigh a lot more. So I forgot to mention this one weighs only 59 grams. So that yarn just must weigh lighter. And then this one weighs 128 grams, so it's a lot thicker. I didn't change my needle size. I still use the US 3.25 millimeter needles, so the fabric is a bit more dense, but it's still got a great amount of stretch to it. I just finished this one this morning. I started it on November 19th and then just finished it this morning. And I just tried it on my 13-year-old son's head. He does have a bit of a smaller head compared to my other children, but it fit him just fine because, again, this ribbed hat, in fact, I haven't tried one on. I'm sure it's too small for my head, but yeah, it's pretty tight on me. But I mean, you can still see it's still, I mean, if I was in a pinch and really wanted to wear a hat, I could definitely still wear this one. It's not uncomfortable at all. It just doesn't have as much room in it as I would normally wear for a hat. Anyway, like I said, these hats are just great, I think, for adjusting to many different head sizes, and I think this one turned out really well. So those are all of my finished objects, and like I mentioned, I have started another classic ribbed hat. I'm just going to be making these nonstop until hopefully I have enough made for all the kids. So I have started another one using, again, some gifted yarn that didn't have a label, and so I'm just using it, and I'm pretty sure that this is more of a fingering weight. It's feeling more like a fingering weight rather than the thicker yarn that I used on that last one. So for this one, I cast on the number of stitches for the kid size again. And yeah, it's not much to speak of yet because I just started it and I have only done a few rows, but this is the yarn caked up. It's basically blue, and then there's sections of bright green and purple in there. I don't know if that purple is showing up very well, but maybe more of like an indigo color, but it's a really pretty one. And this one might have like some silk content in it because it has that silky feel to it. Anyway, I think that will be really, really pretty. Just knit up double with itself. And I like some of these colors will work for either a boy or a girl, which is nice. There are more girls in the Christmas program than boys, but there still are several boys in the program as well. So I need enough hats to work for both, of course. So that one is nice and simple, and they're, you know, I've just really enjoyed making these, and having them on repeat has been great. I don't know, I've just really enjoyed them. I mentioned last time I recorded that I started another pair of mittens. They're being held in this bag that I sewed myself. And I am making a pair of the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits using fingering weight yarn. Again, yarn that was gifted to me, I believe by Vicky was the lady that sent me this yarn, the viewer that sent me this yarn. And again, there are 2 cakes of yarn that I'm going to be using for these mittens, and both of them did not have labels on them. So I'm just using them up. So I cast these on October 27th, but then just set them aside and didn't actually knit on them for a while, and I still haven't put a lot of work into them, but I have picked them up a little bit since I recorded last time. I cast on the adult medium size using US 0.2 millimeter needles, which is what the pattern calls for. It seems like a pretty small cuff, but I have tried it on, and it goes over my hands, and my hands are not small. They're quite large for a woman. And anyway, it goes over my wrist comfortably. And I'm thinking of gifting these mittens to a lady that has smaller hands than me. So anyway, I think they'll work. But anyway, the colorway that I'm using for the cuffs is just a very pretty variegated purple, green, and, well, like a light green and a darker green variegated together. It's very pretty. The pattern calls for you to do 1x1 ribbing for 4 inches for the adult medium size. So it has a nice long cuff, which is nice. I really like that in mittens. And then once I get done with the cuffs, I'm planning to switch to this as the main color for the mitten, which is a very beautiful tonal light purple yarn. And I hope that will be enough for the main part of the mittens. I think it will be. So I think that'll be really pretty to have the cuff have a contrast color, and then the mitten will be in the purple. The main part of the mitten will be in the purple. And I'm thinking of gifting these, actually, I'm thinking of gifting these to the lady that is helping with the Christmas program to play the piano accompanying the children's songs. So we'll see if I get those done in time. Again, something that I've thought, oh, that would be nice, but if it doesn't get done, it's not a huge deal. And my last work in progress, I don't have a ton to share with you all today because I've been so focused on making those hats that I just don't have a lot of variety in my works in progress. But another project that is kind of that same vein, where if I get this finished as a Christmas present, that would be great, but it's not necessary. And it's just, it would be great if it worked out, but if it doesn't, no big deal. I believe I finished a blanket that I crocheted for our family at the beginning of 2024. I started it in the fall of 2023, I believe, and I finished it in the maybe January of 2024. It was a beautiful crocheted pattern. I'll put a picture here of what I made. This pattern that I made was called Faith, and it is a free crochet pattern, blanket pattern, designed by Helen Shrimpton. I loved crocheting this blanket, and my family, my children, especially my 3 youngest children in particular, love this blanket. We have a lot of blankets that we can share in our living room, and people kind of just pick their favorites. And this one in particular, a few of my kids really love and kind of fight over who gets it sometimes. I think they like it because it's huge, and they like that it has the hole. There's lots of open stitches in it. They like that. They like that it has open holes in it, which that's not my favorite part of crocheted blankets, but they like that. And I think they just like the design of it. They like the colors in it. Anyway, maybe a month ago, my daughter was ill, and she was covering up with this blanket, and she ended up taking it up to her bed with her because she was sick and she just wanted to keep it, and that was fine. But then after she got well, I washed it and we put it back in the living room, and she missed it. She really liked having that in her room, that blanket. And so she asked if I would just make her one like that could just be especially for her. So I was happy to do that. I had a bunch of yarn in my stash that was gifted to me by various viewers of this channel. And it was all very similar yarn in that it's almost all of it is an acrylic blend of yarn, and almost all of it is a chainette style of yarn. Anyway, I'll show you what I've got. Here's a big basket that my friend Tina gifted to me, and here is all this yarn that has been gifted to me by various viewers of this channel. And all of it is chainette style yarn except for these two, but those two are also single ply yarn, so they all kind of have the same feel. And you can also see that a lot of these yarns have like a metallic sheen to them, which is very beautiful. Anyway, I had all these yarns and I pulled them all aside for my daughter to look at, and I asked her if she would like any of these yarns for that blanket. She said that she wanted all of those yarns, so I'm using all of those yarns. In fact, there was one more skein that I'll show you in the blanket that I only had one skein of it, and I've already used up the majority of that. I won't be able to add any more of it to this blanket. So my daughter looked through the patterns that are available by Helen Shrimpton, and she picked out another free pattern by her that is called Winnie's Wonder, and that is the blanket that she wanted me to make for her. So I started this on November 11th, and there are 8, the pattern is broken up into 8 parts. Oh, I have eyelash in my eye or something. Anyway, I have already finished the first 2 parts of this blanket pattern. It has been so much fun to make, and it's so beautiful. I love it so much. I am reminded of how much fun it was to make the Faith pattern when I make this one. Helen's patterns are very well written, and she just includes so many fun textures and different stitch patterns that are so enjoyable to work up and see how, it's just so fun to see how the design comes out. So I do think that I made a mistake on that second color, so probably like the second round, but I didn't realize it until I had gotten way past there. But in the original pattern, maybe I'll try to put a picture in of that middle motif so you can see how this is different than what I made. So that purple, light purple section in the middle there looks a lot different than the original. So I messed that up somehow, but I didn't realize that it wasn't matching the original pattern until I was, I think, like way over in this area maybe. And I thought, well, what's it matter? It's all working out. The stitch counts are all working out. It's laying fine. So I just left it because I thought it was pretty the way I did it too. Anyway, that was an unintentional mistake I made there, or modification. Anyway, I just love how all of these colors are looking together. The metallic look of these yarns maybe isn't coming across on screen as well as it does in person, but some of these colors are so neat. For example, this one here is a chainette yarn, and the chainette part is done in like a gold color, and then the fiber that's blown in the inside of the chainette part is blue, so you can kind of see the blue fibers poking out. And then this pink one has also like a gold metallic sheen to it. And then this one right here, this is the colorway that I only had 1 skein of, and I've already used it up, but it was so beautiful as well. So that one has kind of a silvery chainette, and then it has like a mauve-y colored yarn blown into it maybe. That stitch is called a ruffle stitch, and it was so much fun, and I just love the looks of that ruffly section right here. That's so neat. I think that would be really fun to add onto the border of a little baby blanket maybe. That would be fun. Anyway, there's popcorn stitches and puff stitches and bobble stitches and so many fun textural front post and back post stitches here. There's so many fun stitches added into this blanket. I am using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and all of this yarn is, well, most of this yarn is labeled as worsted weight, but some of it is labeled as DK weight, but it's still working up great together. I just think it's so beautiful. I'm not going to go through all of the different yarns, but I will have them listed in the description box below if you're curious about the different yarns. But anyway, a lot of them are from Hobbii. There's quite a few different Hobbii yarns in here. Anyway, I am having so much fun with this one, and if I don't get this finished for a Christmas present for my daughter, then her birthday is in January, so I might try to get it done for her at the latest by her birthday. That would be a fun goal. Anyway, I don't think I'll have a problem doing that because I just love working on this so much. It's so much fun to work on. I have one more thing to share with you all before I end this video. I got an email from a viewer of this channel named Lou Ann, and she said that she had a few stitch markers that she was destashing, and she wondered if I would like to have them to keep or to gift to people along with prizes that I give away. And so I won't go through all of these stitch markers that she sent my way, but she sent me all of these. And I will just pull out a few of my favorites. There are 2 of these adorable crocheted little cardinal stitch markers. Aren't those great? I might put a closable clasp on these when I send them or when I use them myself, because then they can be used as progress keepers as well. That will be an easy thing to add on. That is so cute. And then I also really love this little Christmas tree. It's so sweet as well. But there are so many fun little charms in here that she sent my way, and I'm so thankful. So thank you, Luann, and I will probably be adding these into gifts that I, announce on here in the next few months and things. So thank you so much, Luann, for gifting me those. That was so sweet of you. That is all I have to share with you all today. I hope that you enjoyed seeing the things that I've been working on, and I really hope that you're enjoying the things that you're working on as well. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.